Hello, we are back again for another edition of the Scrum Chat Room, how to break through the Scrum job market in 2024. And most importantly, right now, this is a topic you should listen to because the market is back again. If you've been applying, you must have realized that the numbers of calls that are coming in now and requests are really high. But then, what should you do to stay in front of the market? What should you do to take advantage of the market right now? What's the scenario? What should you know? What are techniques to answer questions, and what should you be doing about your resume? What are some of the keys that you should be learning, and much more? We are going to be talking about that in today's session of the Scrum Chat Room. Before we move ahead, make sure that drop a comment, tell us where you're watching us from, invite a friend, share so that we can all have a conversation together. And above all, do not forget one of the reasons we come live is to hear from you. Right. So it's an opportunity for you to ask those questions you've been longing for answers so that you can get expert advice. But then the most exciting thing about today's session is that I'm not here alone. I'm here with some amazing expert within the Agile field, and we are going to be having a really great conversation together. And I have with me Coach Chatroom, who is joining us from Illinois. So, hello, Coach Catherine. How are you doing today?
Hi there. Good evening, everyone. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from. I'm doing great, Doc. Thank you so much. It's great to always come on here to share knowledge. So I'm excited to just deep dive on this topic of today and to answer questions that will come on here today. Thank you.
All right, and if someone did notice, you would notice that she is in an interview mode, right? That's the kind of setting you want to have when you're heading for your interview. So for some of us that actually go for our interview mode with visual background and all of that, one of the reasons we come on board with authentic backgrounds is to show you exactly what you should replicate while you are doing interviews, while you're in a professional meeting. But also, I also have another senior coach in the house, Coach Daniel, all the way from Atlanta, Georgia. Hello, Coach Daniel. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me here. I look forward to this conversation. As usual, we come here to learn more from you guys and then to, have great discussions. Thank you.
Definitely. It's always a great time to have this conversation, to learn from you what is going on in the market, and also to be able to share what we are also witnessing, given the fact that we work with people every day who are both in the industry and who are trying to get into the industry. So it's going to be a powerful conversation. Now, our topic for today, we are talking about how to break through the Scrum job market. Currently, right now, we are at the peak of that season where you should get ready. But before we talk about the market and get you excited, one of the one of the aspect we have noticed is the fact that many people are excited about the market, but they are not ready enough for the market. Earlier today, I was having a conversation with someone because I always kind of create a 30-minute free assessment for those who want to evaluate to see, oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I not getting it? And all of that. And it's like, you know what? I think I master everything. I've paid a cost for Jira. I've paid this. I've learned this. So I think I'm good to go. Like, okay, I'm going to ask you three questions. And if we can have a conversation with these three questions, then you're good to go. And all the three questions, she was like, wait a minute, I thought I know this. But then what was missing? The fact that most often we think we know until we're on the spot where we want to challenge ourselves. Now, the first question we want to kind of start on Zoom and with is, do we think there is hope in the Scrum market? Or if someone was to get in now, are you going to advise them this is not a good time or this is not something you should invest on right now? Let's start with ladies, Coach Catherine. So, assuming that I was about to get into Scrum or I'm in now, I want to make a decision if I should push through or not. I want to make a decision if I should invest in the space or not. And I come to you like, hey, look, I know you've been in this field for a couple of years now, and I want to get your thought. I want to get your thought process on this. What do you advise me? To get in or to do something else or to go do cybersecurity or to go do DevOps? What's your
Thank you so much for that question, Doc. So there's definitely room for everyone in Scrum. So, but what I'll say is like the Scrum market in 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023 is not the same Scrum market now. So if you want to get into the Scrum space now, it's there's room for you, but you need to put in more work as compared to someone that maybe came into Scrum in 2000 or um 2021 or sorry 2021 or 2022 and even last year. So a lot of things have changed. They need people with they don't just want you to know Scrum and say, oh, I'll come and facilitate events. You need to know more, like more. You don't just you need to know like a bit of everything, a bit of cybersecurity, a bit of QA, a bit of program management, project management. So you need to have like a good knowledge on all of those, because with all of these, I think all of these are like the processes that every product goes through before it's released, because there's security, right? So you need to know like why do they do security testing and all the different types of security testing. You need to know like how the plan work from initiative, how they decide which of the work to bring to like which of the projects, which of the initiative will move into project, which of the project they're going to send into what team. So you need to know all of those. Like you need to know what happens from the top before it gets to the team. So a lot has changed in the market. So if you want to have a space in the Scrum market as of now, you need to do a lot of learning, like a lot of learning. You don't need to rely on certifications. No, Scrum has gone way beyond certifications. You need to do a lot of reading, studying, and getting certifications in like other areas aside Scrum, cybersecurity, DevOps, QA. So you need to do a lot of learning if you're ready to learn and so just putting a lot in yourself, ready to be yourself, then it's going to be you're going to have room. But if you're not ready to do a lot of self study, a lot of other things, then it's going to be a little hard.
wow? Okay, I'm loving the way this conversation is going, and guys, let us know where you're connecting from. Drop a comment so we can give you a shout out. And for those who you know someone who's been asking question about Scrum, this is the right time to share so that they can join the conversation as well. Coach Daniel, let's take the conversation from where Coach Kate actually left it. And she said something. She said the market currently now require you to push beyond just certification. And she mentioned the need to be able to have an understanding of the applications, an understanding of the software development processes, and understanding of that. Now, my question to you, does it mean that you need to go get all of this certification, or how can someone prepare themselves in a way that they are up to date, or in a way that they can be versed with the keys that they need to target the market right now?
All right, thank you, and I mean that was great what Coach Catherine said. I will say, sorry about it. You don't need to have all the certifications. However, you need to have the knowledge, right? You need to have the knowledge. You have to do a lot of research. Like she said, we were in the space where companies themselves did not even know much about
Yeah.
Scrum Agile, right? So they just put everybody on and anybody on the teams. And they realized that, okay, most of them were, let me say, imposters, right? They did not really know what they were about. They just came. So now they've gotten to the point where they know that the framework itself is good, but then the people they put in did not really understand it. So they are laying so many people off, and the market is open again. And now they really want people who are actually skilled. Actually, they know what they are about, right? And they want specific people. Like you have the situation whereby they say, oh, I need a scrum master with what? Service now experience, right? So it's specific. It's not the general scrum where they need you to have that prior service now experience implementation, all the stages that it has to go through, the modules that you need to implement for service now to work. They need a scrum master who understands Salesforce. You need to go an extra mile and study Salesforce, right? The certifications you can get them later, but then getting to a community of practice where people are actually in the field, right? They're having conversations about what is going on in their workplaces, you taking notes and actually going to them asking questions really helps. Now, I know that AI is going to give you most of the answers, but we all know that AI wouldn't give you the answers that a human is going to give you, right? There are real life scenarios that AI is not going to give you. So you need to invest in yourself. Like Coach Catherine always say, you cannot get a six-figure job without doing a six-figure
Never.
work. So yes, it's
Yes.
think about it, it's going to give you that financial liberty, that financial freedom. But then you need to work towards it. You're
Right.
not going to come on a silver platter. Not like how it was happening in 2020, 2021, 2022,
Yeah.
23. You need to do extra.
Wow. Yeah, and I do agree with that. And one of the things I tell everyone who want to get into Scrum is that one good thing about Scrum is that it's not just about the money. The growth is tremendous. The leadership and the benefit, the lifestyle, the way you think.
The
No,
mindset.
there is
Mhm.
one thing many people ignore, and that one thing is that you are your environment. So let's say that if you take yourself now out of a place where you're learning every day, and then you take yourself somewhere into the deep of the Amazon forest, and you spend about 5 to 10 years with these people, you realize that you unlearn everything and you adopt a culture that doesn't allow any place of any space for innovation. Right. So one of the things about becoming a scrum master, which a lot of people don't want to do, and this is also the reason why I tell people that's why you see many people give excuses. It requires you to push beyond just what you want to do. It requires you to invest in yourself. It requires you to grow harder. So, and when you fail to do all of these, you get frustrated. Not because they know the opportunities are not out there, but just because you've not been able to level up to the level of energy that immediately someone listening to you talk, like, you know what? Where have you been? We have been looking for you. Now, let's kind of switch into some practical context. We had a question that came up yesterday in our mastermind, right? Which uh, definitely have a privilege to share. And during an interview, they asked someone the question, right? How have you, or how have you been, how do you use SharePoint to foster collaboration among your team? Right. And I guess SharePoint is not part of the syllabus of Scrum. When you go through your certification, you don't come across the word SharePoint, right? We're just emphasizing on the need of you being able to zoom beyond just what the YouTube is going to tell you, just what the Scrum guy is going to tell you, just what the Scrum certification is going to tell you. All questions are not just going to come around. Tell me about Scrum event. Tell me about this. Tell me about that. It also comes with some of these applications that you're going to use. That's food for thought. We're not going to give you the answer, but if you stay to the end, we'll come back. Now, let's zoom to our next session for today, which is about the secret to preparing. How should you prepare for an interview? And I'm going to put Coach Daniel and Coach Catherine on the spot now, right? So let's start with Christiania. Christiania, if somebody was standing with you now, it's like, okay, give me 5 steps I should, or five most important thing I should focus on while I'm preparing for my Scrum interview. What suggestions are you going to give them?
That is a good question. What these are the suggestions I'm gonna give them, right? Now, mastering the Scrum framework. That's the first and foremost because I mean you cannot be a Scrum master without knowing the Scrum framework. So you need to master it. The next steps I'm gonna give the person is knowing the tools that is needed to work in a team, right? Knowing the tools. You need to have a hands-on experience with these tools. Don't just know them by their names. Most of these tools have free versions online that you can download, whether it's a tracking tool, whether it's a tool that is for team collaboration, what any type of tool, make sure that you are studying them. The next thing is your case studies, right? Your case studies, like what projects are you working on?
Mhm.
Make sure that you need to, and this will, I will say this again, belong to a community of practice because you're not going to get a good case study out there if you don't belong to a community of practice where real people are sharing with you real life scenarios, things that are actually happening on the job, right? Then after that, the SDLC, master the SDLC, because you cannot tell me that you let's say you are the receptionist at a mechanic or or a car garage and work there for like 3 years
Yep.
minimum. Let's say just 2 years, and somebody walks in and tell you, "Oh, how do I jumpstart my car?" You are like, no, it's something that is basic, right? I understand that you are a receptionist. You are not the actual engineer. You are not the technical guy. But then you've heard this a million times. Jump starting the car is something that is very basic. Changing your oil, your filters, is something that is very basic, right? So you need to master the SDLs. You need to understand what are the various stages that a product needs to go through before it gets into the market, right? You need to understand all of that. And finally, the fifth point will be the fifth point. I'm gonna say it's still gonna come back to being in a community of practice, right? Where you get all these things in one place, doing more research, investing in yourself, investing in yourself. You don't have to sleep. And like you said, it's a leadership role, continuous improvement, right? So don't just limit yourself to Scrum. Learn communication. How do you have to communicate? How do you have to talk to stakeholders? How do you have to meet with executives, right? Be professional because most people are from different environments. Let's say us Uber drivers and all that stuff get into the the corporate world. So you need to master the language, what needs to be said in the corporate world, how you need to conduct yourself, and all of that. It's these are the five things that I'm gonna tell somebody to.
Thank you very much, Coach Catherine. Let's pick your brain.
All right, thank you, Doc. I think Coach Daniel said almost everything I had to say. So, just adding to what Coach Daniel said, you need to be ready. Don't wait for an interview to get ready. You need to be always ready. So that's why you need to do like continuous learning and continuous improvement. That's one of the basics of agile. Continue for us to continuously improve on our practices, processes, tools, and all of that. So you need to incorporate that into you. You need to continuously learn and improve on yourself. And what you should also do is have like a study partner, an accountability partner. Yeah, you need to have these people that will hold you accountable, people that you can meet with to study. And like Coach Daniel said, we cannot overemphasize on a community of practice because here you have like real life experience. You do like actual projects that you can actually speak to those during your interview because that will be like your environment. So you can actually speak to those. And don't forget to also pray. And lastly, just be ready. Be always ready because you might have just one interview for like in the space of 6 months, and that's the interview that will give you a job. Don't go and mess it up. So always stay ready. Stay ready. like you were born ready.
Well, thank you. And I'm going to also add that what many people, I'll add two things. Number one, discipline. Many people are not disciplined enough
Yeah.
to to go through the process. Now, when we talk about discipline, it's about understanding that it's not going to be a bed of roses, but it's just like you waking up at 4 a.m. to go to work. You wish you have more sleep, but then you need to be disciplined and responsible enough to know that despite the fact that you're tired, your brain can still move you. Many people don't discipline themselves a lot. So even when they are present, they are not disciplined. So it's just like we have many people that are watching this video, they're watching in and out. Now, let's say for instance, I could prefer to give a 30-minute conversation to learn what is going to help me get my next job, or I can come in and out, and not discipline myself to focus on that and then distract myself in the whole process. Now you realize that the distraction I'm having at this point, relative to what I'm receiving now, it's not really comparable, right? Like the things that will really distract me. Some is just like I'm working on Instagram, I see a funny video, I'll start following it. Then before I come back to listening to this, that's the one of the biggest problems in achieving success. Discipline. Now, discipline doesn't just come from the fact that you make up your mind. It's simply because you can see the future. Most often, when we see about getting into a career, we are looking at if I have some money, when I save some money, when I make some money. But we are not seeing the fact that what you're about to get in is what is going to define your next 50, 70, 80 years. So we don't prioritize it. That's also the discipline. Now, the second aspect, which I want to also talk about, which is a connection to the first one, because discipline is what helps you now to be what we call self managed, to be self-managed. And self-management is what now help you to become your own leader in the sense that you can make decisions and you can stick with those decisions. And when it comes to decisions about what you need to do to break through a career or what you need to do to get through a job, trust me, most often it has nothing to do with money. It has nothing to do with time. It even have nothing to do with what you know now. It has all to do with your ability to believe that you can do it and to be open enough to believe that you are going to create that energy, meet the right people, do the right investment to do it. If we can all think in this direction and keep up our mind, it doesn't matter how inconsistent we might be, that positive energy is always going to pull us back to the line. So those are a couple of stuff which we all miss. When we prepare, we do stuff, we do everything possible, but discipline and then training our mind not to give up, training our mind not to be depressed, it's always missing. So because of that, we find like we get roller coaster success. All right, perfect. And if you're joining us, I see Femi, I see Zambrota connecting from Atlanta, I see Bruno from Atlanta, I see Matthew, I see Carol from Texas, Olowa Lee from Maryland, I see Adeyemi. Hello. And every other person, if you drop your comment, and make sure please you're commenting and make sure you like, make sure you share with someone. Now we want to move into a more practical dimension, which is going to be more or less listening from you. For those who are watching, what is your biggest struggle, or what are some of the questions that you feel like if I could have an answer to this is going to be a good addition to me. If I could get this answer, I've been thinking about these. So it's time for you to drop those questions right now. It's time for you to drop those questions right now. Meanwhile, we are also going to discuss a couple of questions, and I'm going to throw it to our expert here, and they are going to give us responses. And we'll kind of analyze why this is a good response and why it's not a good response. And we're also going to share our thought. We want to talk about one of the major aspects many people face, right? And that is we learn so much that we don't pay attention to questions and then we don't pay attention to keywords, right? So because of that, when a question comes up, we just dive straight into the answer without paying attention to what exactly, why did the interviewer ask me this question, and how can I approach this question? And I'm going to share some of those questions with you right now. The first question, which I'm going to ask our interviewer today, is why is it important to have a definition of ready and a definition of done in Scrum? So, I don't know, Coach Catherine, Coach Daniel, anybody want to start from that? Then we want to, and now I want the audience to first of all think about how you answer this question. Right. Think about why you answer this question. And we're not just answering it because we want them to answer it. We're asking it because there is something there which we want you to pay attention to. Um, Coach Catherine, you want to take that question?
Oh, sure, Doug. Thank you for asking. So the definition of ready helps us to know when a product backlog item is ready for us to move into the sprint.
Okay.
And for the definition of done, it helps us to know, okay, it helps us to know that stories have moved into the various stages in our backlog, and so we're able to close the story.
All right. Now, you see how simple that answer was? So that question was why? The most important aspect in that question is why. Now, the way many people approach this question, they will go to they start telling us about invest criteria, about, and they'll go as deep as possible to start. But the question was, why is it important? It was not define the definition of done and the definition of ready. Now, some people go, before I tell you that, let me define. No, that wasn't the question. The question was, why is it important? It's important to have a dictionary ready because it helps us know when a product backlog item is ready to move to the spring backlog. Definition of done help us to know exactly when we are going to we're going to move stuff out of our spring. So this is one thing many people miss out, especially if you're been in stage one, stage two, stage three, and you always hear sorry. Most often it's not because you don't know, but because you're not paying detailed attention. Active listening is missing. So because we already know about definition of done and definition of ready, we dive straight to that without paying attention to the keyword. All right.
And Derek, please, if I can add, it's better for you to give a straightforward answer and the interviewer asks you a follow up question. It's better that way rather than you going all overboard and saying things that you end up implicating yourself.
That's very correct. All right. So I will take the next question from our audience, which is from Matthew. And Coach Daniel, you want to help us with this question. Is there a difference between the daily Scrum meeting and daily stand up, or are they the same thing?
All right, thank you. That's a very good question, right? They are the same thing, right? It's just your environment, what they choose to call it.
Mm.
What they choose to call it, right? The daily stand up, the daily scrum, the team sync. It's still the same thing, right? How they choose to call it. What is important is the outcome. What are we
Mm.
trying to achieve during this event, right? That's how you look at it. It's the same thing, Matthew. Thank you.
Okay, great. And I see Coach Akin also answered that. Hello, Coach Akin. Hello, Coach Loveline. I see our senior coaches out there. All right. So uh the other question we are going to ask, and I just want you to pay attention to the keyword. Now think about how you will answer it, and then our Coach Daniel, will help us answer it. Then you want to think, okay, is it something I would have answered this way, or I would have answered completely differently? What are the different Scrum events, and why are they important? Coach Daniel.
Awesome. So the various Scrum events are the daily Scrum, the sprint planning, the backlog refinement, the sprint review, and then the sprint retrospective. They are all important because they help us align and inspect and adapt.
Okay. You see how easy that was? Now, in most of the cases, people will answer, will leave that, then start telling us what happened during the spring planning, how they are going to plan capacity and go deeper and go deeper and go deeper. Now, I will expressly tell you that most of the interviews that have given me a job lasted less than 30 minutes. Now, they're not looking for you to be, no, the two things. When you are too explanatory, when without sticking to the question that have been on the keyword, they look at you as an amateur, like someone with learning. No, someone with learning something, you want to prove that I can know. Have you ever been in a kindergarten class? You ask, can someone say your ABC? Oh, everyone is trying to raise their hand up, right? Why? Because I want to show that I know how to do this. But when you go like really, really advanced, it's not about showing, it's about having those deep conversation. All right. So thank you very much. And Coach Catherine, we're gonna take our next question, and this question is from um Olawa Olawale, and it says, "How would you determine a team capacity when resources are shared among multiple teams?"
Mm. Hi, Olawale. Thank you for your question. So, if you have shared resources, you need to, like, during planning or even prior to planning, you need to ask them, okay, how much time do you have available for my team this spring? So just by asking them, they might tell you, or maybe it's a 10 days sprint, maybe 3 days, right? So you need to calculate it based on the 3 days. So you say, okay, maybe Tom will be available for 3 days. If you have another team member, maybe the DevOps engineer will be available for 5 days. So you go by that. You just ask them how much time they have to put into your team for that sprint, and then you go about it that way.
Wow, thank you. Simple, straight to the point. Multiple teams. So focus on what amount of time they're giving to your team. If it's just 25%, which is 2 days, you only give them work that is 2 days, right? So you go with the percentage of that work. All right, perfect. Now we're also going to take a couple of questions, and I don't know how many people have had the opportunity to get this book. For those who had the opportunity to have had this book, I'm having so many positive feedback. Please, if you've ordered the book, I would like you to go give me a review on Amazon. I need those review coming in. Right, give me those review on Amazon.
There should be
And
a picture. This should be on our
yeah,
it's our
definitely.
campaign picture.
Yeah, definitely. Go get this book. Ace Your Scrum, Safe, and Kanban Interview with Ease. Right. It took
Yeah.
quite some time for me to put these questions together and really go a bit more deeper into it. And we want to look at some of those questions from in there. We'll take a question from Scrum, we'll take a question from Safe, we'll take a question from Kanban. And in some of those questions, I really, really go deeper, like in the question I asked on page 69 on how do you conduct a value stream mapping session in SAFe. Now, these are advanced questions, but then the reason why you should have this resource is because it helps you think beyond just what a Scrum Master should be thinking about. And for coaches who also want to help their student become much better in interview preparation, it's a good resource. Taking time, organizing it, putting it under different category, and making sure that everyone can understand it. And one of the things about this book is that I do it in two sections, right? The first section, I just ask the questions. So without the answer. So you can read it, think about the answer, then you go now to section B of each chapter and look for your answer. So one question we are going to look at today is I'm gonna ask the coaches to share what has been. We're gonna take the question on page 48. Right. Can you give an example of a successful coaching experience? Uh, Christiania, we're gonna put you on a spot on that. What's can you give us an example? Now you're on a Scrum interview, right? And then you get this question out of a sudden. Can you give an example of a successful coaching experience you have? These are situational questions which you need to use your brain, right? It's not direct question and answer. So let's kind of I'm gonna have Coach Daniel give his own feedback, Coach Catherine give his own feedback. I'm gonna give my own feedback so that we can all see how we approach it from different angle and why each of us will still be doing justice to the response. Coach Daniel.
So is it to answer the question or to give an overview on how to answer the question?
Let's just answer the question the way we answer it, just a brief answer, the whole answer.
All right. So what's the question again?
So the question says that can you give an example of a successful coaching experience?
Yes, that's a good question. I remember I remember when I was put on a new team. I was put on a new team that had just 2 days training on what Scrum is, and they were gonna get an outside contractor to come and help coach the team. So I was gonna be the Scrum Master. But as soon as I started, the contract fell through, and I was put in a sink or swim situation. So I was like the coach for the team, and then the whole organization, and my Scrum team as well. So what happened was I realized that my team was resistant to change because they are from a waterfall team. And what I did was, as a coach, right, I tried to meet them at where they are, right, understood their pain points, and then help them adapt, to the Scrum framework by teaching when necessary and mentoring them, right, when it's necessary, and also guiding them, right, like I said, understanding their pain points and letting them know that this is a framework that's going to work for all of us. It's going to actually make our job easier, right? Not to come and to come and stress us or make our job harder. Yeah, so that was a successful. What I did was met them, address their pain points, right, and then mentored them.
Right. Thank you very much, Coach Catherine.
Thank you, Doug. So, what like the scenario could Daniel give? I was about to give it similar scenario, but let me think of something else. Mm,
While
so
you while you're thinking, let me give you more time to do your thought processing. While
oh,
you're
okay,
thinking,
okay. I think I'm ready. Okay.
are you ready? You can go
Mhm.
ahead.
So okay, thank you, Doc. So I remember a time when I one of my team members was new, and she was new, and she was in, I think she was in California, so the time zone was messing up with her, and she didn't really communicate that to us, so she was falling behind her work and a lot of stuff. So what I did was I had to reach out to her and ask her what the situation was, and she told me it's the time, it's very early for her to wake up and join our calls and to also reach out to team members. So what I did was I had a conversation with the team for us to see how we could adjust our time for our meetings, so we could also consider her, and they all accepted because of the good relationship I built with the team. And we had to move our sorry, no, we had to actually have two stand-ups. So we decided to have two stand-ups. The first stand-up was for everyone in the team, and the second stand-up was just for the onshore team members, and that's how we were able to, yeah, that's how I was able to coach the team to come out to that resolution.
Great. Thank you very much. And for my case, talking about a successful coaching experience, I actually had to do with two managers from different lines. It was an IT transformation manager, and there was also a manager from the finance and HR team. Given that we were building an enterprise application that has to be used by the IT, but at the same time, the finance team need to do their budgeting from the same application. Now, we had a scenario where for the IT transformation unit, they consider work based on story points. But then the finance unit wasn't agreeing with that because they want actual days, they want actual hours. Now, based on agile estimation, we do estimate, we actually guess what. So
Guesstimate,
this
yes.
was posing a very major challenge between these two managers. And should we adopt specific days or should we adopt the flexibility? So being as a coach in that area, I had to have a working session with them. And what I did in order to bring them into alignment, I had to give them an opportunity to explain why they think that having a flexibility on the guess or the estimation is the best way, and why the finance think that the fix is the best way. Now, both of them were able to zoom the finance focus on how this will affect their numbers and how this will affect their reporting. And at the same time, what happened is that the IT team also kind of explained how this have an impact on their team or on their team members if they've been put pressure and we're considering that this is 2 days and they don't miss up, it makes a whole lot of work. So what we did was to be able to find a neutral arrangement between both of them that still allowed them keep what they think about the way work should be estimated because it meets their specific need. But we now decide on how to be able to tie work to tie story point to specific day, to a dollar point. So we now say, okay, let's assume that this amount of work is equals to this dollar point, and this amount of days is equal to this dollar point. So if um, the finance team is talking about 2 days of work, they are referring to an equivalent to this amount of work. Now, it doesn't matter if the IT team called that 10 days, there should be an equivalent to the number of hours that is put in there. So it doesn't matter if they call it 10 story point, 15 story point, but then they need to be an equivalent. When work comes in, we know that, okay, any work with this particular amount is tied to this number of dollar figure, or is tied to this cost that they need to pay. So when ITC, when finance 2 days, they know that, okay, 2 days simply means that work that costs us about 100 to $200. Now, IT may use, let's say, 10 days to complete that work because of blockage and all of that. In those 10 days, there are multiple 2 days that are in there. So we can now factor it and we use the time that is being spent. We are spending money. We don't want to put pressure on the IT to call it 2 days and put pressure. But then, if we all align on the dollar spend, we all know that even if we are spending 20 days, is spending more money. So based on that, we could be able to get now forecasting prior to every project. And at the end of the day, we can see finance was expecting this to cost us 500,000, but IT did not want to put pressure and they span across this number of days, and it costed us 1.2 million. So that put a very clear conversation on them on how to think about this, on why they should play a balance on this. So that was a very complex, it's a very complex scenario, right? That happened when you are facilitating at program level, when you're dealing with different lines of managers. They're not very flexible in agile. Trust me. They just want, I need to write this number, and this number needs to be this way, and we need to make it work this way. So you must find a way to work with them. So I just wanted to bring another different scenario from a different perspective, because we have a wide variety of audience watching. Okay, now we go back to our audience. Oh, and now let me read the response that I have on this book. So those who, if you want to get a copy, you can get there. Can you give an example of a successful coaching experience? Now, the response I have on this book is, I have coached um, a team new to Scrum, helping them understand and adopt Scrum practices. I leverage workshop for better learning experience and conduct individual coaching session to better understand individual perspective and align to this. The combination of workshops and individual coaching session created a suitable environment for communication and collaboration, resulting to increase in team performance. Now, I provide this answer on this level. We talk about two different aspects: workshop and individual coaching. So here you can say, oh, I met a team and they did not know how to estimate stories. I use workshops. I use one-on-one to be able to understand their perspective. Use workshop to provide the training. At the end of the day, I realized that my team started estimating much better, right? So the applicability, it's really, really wide, and there are cases where I give like real life scenario that you can actually use. Most of them, I give you like generic scenario where you can now understand the main concept and adapt it to your own situation scenario. Okay, perfect. Now we have another question from Olawade. How would you handle a team lead resistant to agile change? What approach would you take? I like that question. So, who wanna go first?
Kajanya, do you want to go?
Okay, how would you handle a team lead resistant to agile changes, and what approach would you take? Right. So resistance to change comes from different prior experiences, right? Why are they resistant? It might be the fear of failing. There has to be a reason. So I'll say you need to gain their trust, right? You need to gain their trust. Now you need to let them open up to you and tell you why they are resistant. Listen and observe, right? You have to listen and identify why they are resisting that change. Now, when you are able to understand what that root cause is or what is causing them to resist that change, that is when you can find an approach to so it can be several approaches. Well, if it's fear, provide a safe environment for them to fail and then let them understand that, okay, when we fail, we haven't failed. We actually learn something because Scrum is based on empiricism, meaning that we are learning from what is observed, right? So we just fail for different reasons. We don't have to fail for the same reason. Then that's when we are failing. We fail today, we fail tomorrow. It's fine if it's a different reason. But then if you are failing for the same reason every day, then that means we are failing, right? So it's all about getting to build that relationship with that team lead, understanding their pain point or why they are resisting that agile change, and then you addressing it. So it can be a variety of approaches that you're going to take.
Thank you. That's a powerful response. So, resistance simply means I don't agree with you. So, meet them to the point, understand why they don't agree. And one of the easiest way is to create awareness. When they become aware, you can easily handle them. We had a case where uh, a team was completely resistant to moving their work to Jira. They've been using OneNote like for past 10 years, and then the organization started implementing tracking tools like Jira. It's like, no, Jira, You're on your own. We have been doing this for 10 years and wonder we are successful. We keep doing it there. Now, the team lead that was there did not object the fact. The first aspect to resistance is when you are telling somebody to do something without creating enough space for them to understand why they need to do it. When you have kids that are about 7 to 8 years, when you tell them something, the first question is why? Why do I need to do this? Right? You need to, when you give them now an explanation, you realize that, okay, they understand why it should be that way. So that's the first base of resistance. So just by participating in their meetings and contributing, now they can now trust you that, oh, this person knows so much to know what they're saying. Say, oh, can we try that your Jira and see how it look like? And when they try it and they could just go use JQL and pull out what they need, it's like, oh wow. So we have been scrolling through different pages on OneNote where we can just put a simple query and pull out everything. And that is how they were able to move to Jira. So resistance or change is something very normal. It's not an anti-pattern. It's expected. So it's how you respond to it that actually really really matter. All right. So I'll do another question from page 84, and it talks about it's a Kanban question, right? And you need to start preparing for Kanban. Kanban is becoming very common in interviews today because many organizations are adapting the flexibility. I want to put that on page 84, question number 9. It says, how do you determine appropriate WIP limit for your team? How do you determine appropriate WIP limit for your team? Now, WIP limit simply means work in progress limit. And I think I'm going to put the a link to the book for those who are interested in ordering it and putting that on the chat box. Now, when we talk about work in progress limit, the first thing for you to understand here is that it simply means that how do we ensure that you're not taking more than you can chew? How do we ensure that you're not taking more than you can chew? Right. So think about uh, driving across the street of a neighborhood. The reason they put street light is to limit how fast cars can move, so we can give space for other unforeseen. Somebody just rushing across the road, there's a street light, at least they can move, right? So putting work in progress limit, it's more about estimating the capacity of your team, right? Estimating the capacity of your team. So when you look at the capacity of your team, you can see how much they can take. And then while they are implementing, you will now, based on the fact that you're inspecting and adapting, you're like, okay, if Coach Samuel took 3 items during our last session and they were able to flow through without any major challenges, then that's quite good. I notice when he goes to 4, it takes about a month. But when it's at 2, it's good. I notice when it's at 1, so you kind of try to evaluate art as needed. But the major point is that what you determine work in progress limit by analyzing the team capacity and historical data on their workflow. Right. So you start with conservative limit and adjust based on feedback and observation. As simple as that. All right, perfect. So I'm gonna give it to Coach Catherine to pick a question on the on faith and ask. Then Coach Daniel will also ask one question for our audience. Now we're asking the audience to answer now. Those are going to be questions for the audience. And then audience also ask us your own question. We are going to answer. So let's do some role playing here before we end.
All right. So, question is from page 63. Question 18. What are system demos and how do they contribute to save?
Okay, what are system demos and how do they contribute to save? I think Esther asked that question. Do I need a safe scrum as a beginner? I already did SMA and trying to break through. All right, Esther, uh, safe is not like a hard requirement, but it's a big recommendation. It's just like you're applying for Scrum job and then you choose only to apply for 50% of the job in the market, which means any job that require you to have safe Scrum, you're not applying. So you're limiting your chances, right? Because there are many job out there that requires you to have uh, safe. Now, secondly, safe also help you improve your analytical knowledge on Scrum. In what aspect? As a safe Scrum Master, you are going to be collaborating with about 5 to 12 teams at once. Right. So you learn how not just to work with a simple team, but you're learning how to collaborate in an enterprise environment. So that's the reason we are very big on safe. If you can do safe and not do CSM, you're going to be fine. But I also see a mistake where many people do CSM and PSM. They're like twins. So when you
Yeah,
do that, it's just like you're having the same
the
stuff.
same.
So don't plan to go do CSM, then go do PSM. It's just like you're taking a bachelor degree in economics in this university. You go to another university, you take the same one just because it's a different name, right? So when you do PSM and you want to improve, you can go do SAFE. Right. Now, except that you're really working in an organization, some organization might be very peculiar about their style of adoption or so. But if you're still wanting to break in, pick between PSM and CSM. If you really want to start and move on a pipe, I never did PSM or CSM. The first course I did was safe, and that was it. I did not do PSM, I did not do CSM. But then by doing safe, there's nothing on PSM. What I did was now read the Scrum guide, and that was it. Yeah.
Yeah, and if I can add, I think it's as of now, the way the market is, I think it's a must to have a safe certification. And again, because all organizations will want to go large in the long run. So having a safe certification, it's a double advantage for you. If you get to a company that does Scrum and they think of going scale, they'll definitely retain you because they know, oh, she has a certification, she has the knowledge, so let's retain her.
Okay. Coach Catherine, someone answer your question.
Okay, okay,
System
Martin.
demo shows stakeholder business owner what has been developed by the Scrum team. They provide transparency on the work that the team has done. Great job, Matthew.
Thank you,
Great.
Matthew.
Great. Coach Daniel, please ask your own question.
I'm going to ask this question, even though it's a simple question, because of a scenario that happened today, right? What are the key ceremonies for an art in safe?
Hmm. What are the key ceremony
Or
or
event?
event for an agile release train? Let me make it simpler for them. Let me define what art is. Art means agile release train. Right. Right.
Oh, you
So
gave the secret out.
yeah, Akira, I there was what was that? There's this I've forgotten what is it. There's this abbreviation where um most recruiters or interviewer will always confuse you about. They will not call the full meaning. They will just use if it comes to mind, I'm gonna remind you about that. Yeah. So instead of asking you a question with the full meaning, they will just ask based on the abbreviation. Right. It's simply like someone asks you what is WIP. Can you explain to me what WIP is? Like WIP, WIP. All right, it's WestJet. The first question I came across, like, oh, can you explain to me what WestJet is? Like, WestJet, WestJet. What are you talking about? What type of term is WestJet? Right? Yeah. Weightest shortest job friends. It's just like, oh, what's your understanding of WIP? And you have never come across WIP. But these are terms that those who are working in the space, especially if you say you have worked with a Kanban team, you should understand what WIP is. If you say you work in a Scrum team, and especially if you work in the program level, you should understand what WestJet is. Right? These are um, some of those slangs that you need to know. All right, perfect. Audience, any other question? I think we maxed out our time and we looking forward next Thursday. Summer was quite busy, so it was quite difficult for us to be consistent, but we'll try as much as possible. Summer is getting a bit slower to stay consistent. And uh, next week, we are going to still push through on giving you more details on what the market is. But sincerely, for people, if you're in the space and you have been trying everything possible and it looks like you're losing it, the mistake many people make at the beginning is they think I can do it on my own. Now they try all possible way. They realize the last resort is to join a community. It's not to hire a coach. It's not about hiring a coach. With all due respect to coaches out there, coaches would barely not help you so much. I'll give you a reason why I say that. Not that they are not good, not that they don't know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. But Scrum is about practice. It's not about someone telling you what to do. Some people like, no, I have a Scrum Master friend. I just go see it, I shadow them. Those are two different things. Except you want to do it for them and start doing. Just seeing how they're doing it doesn't mean that you can do it. When you sit and start moving those things, that's when you know that you were just watching. These are two different stuff. Yeah. And this person has been practicing on Jira. They know all of this. And I asked them a simple question. So, which of the event will you use a bend down chart or a velocity chart? Or which of the report will you show to your stakeholders? And she knew the different report, but she did not know how to apply them. Why? Because she has studied, she has gone to a master class that talks about Jira. She understands how to do that. But when it comes to applicability, which is what we are looking for, it's zero, which is why you cannot beat a community. I also understand that on conversations I've been having with people, I also understand that people have been in communities where they don't actually get what they don't actually get what a community should actually provide. For instance, the practical experience, for instance, having regular masterminds, and then now this is one thing for everybody who's watching me. It's a bonus for you. If you're making a choice to get into a coaching program or you're making a choice to get into any community, it's not about what they promise or what they say, it's about structure. Any question you should ask someone is come with your list of what structure do you have to do this? What structure do you have to do this? What structure do you have to do this? But the question many people ask is that how will you guarantee that I'll get a job? I can give you all the sweet talk. It's not about guarantee. No one will guarantee you a job except they want to take an interview for you. If you're the one to take an interview, it's about what structure have been put in place for me to learn. Coach Catherine, your last word to our audience.
Doc, you already know. So, put in the work, invest in yourself, join a community of practice, and do the actual practice on the Jira board, on the ADO board, Confluence, learn how to book meetings because now interviews have taken like a whole different level. During interviews, they'll ask you to they'll ask you, like, they can share their screen and ask you, like, oh, what, they can actually share like burn down charts or different reports for you to translate them, like, okay, what does this mean? So you need like an actual community of practice, because we do all of this in our community of practice. We do like projects, and we have like days that we just come for teams to come and show us their report and what the report means. So join a community of practice, because that's where you have like the hands-on experience that you would share during an interview as your actual environment. So learn, invest in yourself, because you cannot have the six-figure job without a six-figure work. No
You
way.
cannot have a six-figure job without a six-figure work.
Yeah.
Very true. You need to do the six-figure job. Yeah. For those who are interested in joining our community of practice, send me a text. We'll do a 30-minute assessment and see if it's a good fit for you. We definitely
Yeah.
not just interested to like everybody come in.
Mm-mm.
You need to be mentally ready. Right? We're
Yes.
looking for people who want to add value to what we are doing. So you must be ready. We actually prepare you to know that you're not coming to come in, ask question, get a response, and go. You're coming to do the six-figure work so you can get the six-figure job. Coach, Coach Daniel.
Thank you, Doc. I mean, it was a powerful session. It was a great session. My last words will be, Coach Catherine just stole the words, from me. But join a community of practice is very important. Not just any community of practice, but the ones that have a structure, that have the results, that have the people that are willing to help, right? Because in our community of practice, I'm not trying to sell it to you. We treat everybody as family. Not People are not just numbers in our community, right? And you can tell from anytime we come on our Facebook, our YouTube, any of our medias, you can tell from the comments, right? People who are actually watching are mostly people who belong to the community. You see them saying, "Oh, I belong there, I belong there," and they are saying good words, right? And also, the question I asked about the art ceremonies, right?
Mhm.
Know that Olawale, I think, answered and said PI. It's not just PI. There are so many events for an art. And I'm not going to give you the answer. The answer is right here in this book. Please try. Get the book. Get the book. Even if you are not joining a community of practice, get the book. And I think after reading this book, I have no doubt that you yourself will look for this community of practice and then, come join and then actually succeed in this agile journey. And in our community of practice, it's not about just Scrum. It goes beyond Scrum. Leadership transformation. There's so much in that community. There are people who are in the community not because they want a Scrum job. They just came to learn and they are still there because there's more to the community than just Scrum. It changes your mindset. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It's definitely a powerful training ground, not just for the student, but I think for us, the coaches, and for everybody. Just imagine every week you're into about 3 to 4 different Scrum lessons. There's no way Scrum will not call your name. There's no way you cannot, except you want to you deliberately just want to keep your brain not to learn, right? But there is actually so much to learn. And when it gets into the field of Scrum, it's all about continuous learning. But then we also pay very deep attention to training your mindset, to your spiritual well being, most importantly, which is the foundation of life. And that's what helps to transform you and to build you. We have one of our students who recently had a job. And when she shared her testimonial yesterday, she said, the day I made up my mind to start understanding that life was spiritual, and to start paying attention to my spiritual need and to my prayer life and to the word I speak and to the way I think. That is the day I saw the job coming. Now, this is someone that has been in for about 2 years and no result. And the day they make up their mind, like, you know what? I think I've been doing what I've been doing, no result. So let me listen to what Dr. Francis is saying about this is not just about you, it's also about thinking about it from the God perspective. And when they did that, changed stuff for them. Not only for them, for so many people. We definitely don't teach you things that don't work. We teach you things that work and things that you see results. It's always great being here. Good having you. And reach out if you want to not just push through. Now, we also, for many of our Scrum Masters that are watching us, um, we have an agile coaching community as well. If you want to become an agile coach, you can reach out and I will share with you how we can help you go through that journey. And in less than no time, you should be able to take some rank. Don't just be comfortable being a Scrum Master, right? All right, everybody, have a great rest of your evening, your morning, wherever you're connecting from. We either connect on YouTube or I'll see you tomorrow. Come to my page. I'm putting daily content, or I'll see you next week again when we do another session of the Scrum Chat Room.